Hi, I'm Jude. Welcome to my Java programming course. In this lesson, we are going to learn everything about access modifiers in Java. This video is part of a complete Java course I have published on YouTube. If you are interested in becoming a Java expert, I would highly encourage you to check out the rest of the videos as well. Before we rush into learning Java access modifiers, let's take a moment to upgrade our development setup. Up until this point during this course, I was simply using a text editor to demonstrate basic examples. But I think the knowledge you have right now is enough to start using an IDE, and you will understand what is the purpose behind using an IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. It is basically a software that you can install on your operating system. I have listed down the four major and popular IDEs that are used to develop Java applications. From this point onwards, I will start using IntelliJ IDEA, more specifically a community version. Let's download the IDE of IntelliJ IDEA from the internet. Since we are going to use this IDE for learning purposes, I recommend to download the community version of this IDE. You need to scroll down this page and at the bottom you will see IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition. Please download this file. When you open the IDE, you will see this following screen. Let's create a new project. For now, I'm going to call it as family. You can close this particular tab here. Let's quickly familiarize around this IDE. Here you can see this is the editor section in this IDE. This is where you write your code. And on the left hand side, you will see the project structure or the folder structure for the project. Here we have created the project called family. And you can see you can expand and shrink. Inside this family project folder, you will see a source directory, which is denoted by src. Source is the main source code for your program or the software you write. In this case, we only have the generated file called main, and it is the main.java file. It is a Java file. You can very quickly run this main program by simply right click and running this main.main function. Or else you can also click on this particular green play button icon, which will also run this particular main function. If not, you also can run this current file by simply clicking on this run main.java file. If not, you can always open up a terminal and run the Java C or Java commands. Well, let's focus back to our topic in this video about security and how to write secure Java applications. Whenever you are developing a Java application, you must consider about securing your data and how others are using this software application. Access modifiers are basically a set of reserved Java keywords, and you can use them to limit the access and exposure of building blocks in your code. What I mean by building blocks, it's basically variables, methods, classes, constructors, and so on. You know, we always write reserved keywords in Java with all simple case letters or lowercase English letters. Privates is the most restrictive type, and you can only access private modified variables methods only within the same class. If you do not provide any access modifier, that will consider as a default access modifier. Default access modifier allows you to access attributes and methods in the same class, just like private access modifier. And going forward, you can also access attributes and methods from a different class if that class is also in the same folder or the same package. Going beyond the default access modifier, the protected modifier allows any subclass to access the parent attributes which are marked with the protected keyword. For example, if the subclass lives in a different folder, different package, that subclass is able to access the attributes and methods labeled with the protected even if it is on a different package or a different folder. And last, we have the public access modifier. Any attribute and method labeled as public is available to access within the same Java application from anywhere. What I mean by anywhere, any other Java class file. If you can recall what are Java primitives are inbuilt data types or variable types. There are only 8 different inbuilt data types. And also note, all of those data types are written in all simple letters. The problem is any of these data types will not allow me to represent a data of text value. For example, if I want to represent my name, which is Jude, which has 4 different character letters, I cannot use any of those existing primitive data types. We have the chart primitive data type, but it is only able to represent a single character. And it uses single quotes, and you cannot represent more than single character in this data type. Therefore, I cannot represent my name with the use of primitive data type of char. Well, that's where the Java developers use the string class. String class is an inbuilt Java class. We can use this string class to represent string or textual data. For example, you can see in below I have created a variable called myText, and here I use the new keyword along with the string class name, and within the parentheses I provided the string that I want to store in that string object. And also I have another way to create string objects. That is basically without using the new keyword, I can simplify the creating of a string object by simply placing the value itself. There is a subtle difference between these two ways of creating strings in Java. The first one is actually creating a new Java object inside the heap area. The second approach, actually we call it as a string literal. It is also a Java object, but we use this special word called string literal to denote this particular Java string representation. When we create string literals, basically without using the new keyword, all these string literals are stored in a string pool. String pool is basically kind of like a swimming pool where all the string literals are stored. The idea behind using a string literal pool is basically to save up the memory. For example, if you are using the same string representation on multiple places in your Java application, Java will create only a single object but refer that object whenever you require. So that is the idea, to save up some memory when the Java application is running. I hope now you understand how to represent textual data in Java using the string class. Shall we do a little exercise? This will help you to clear out if you have any doubts regarding Java Access Modifiers. Let's imagine as a user you have a bank account. So in this case, I can create different classes to represent these two entities. In this case, the bank account and the user. Oftentimes, you will also have an online bank account which is tied to your original bank account. In this case, I will call that bank account as online bank account. So during this exercise, you as the user will use your bank account to make a purchase in front of your merchant or a shopkeeper. For example, I have shown you 4 different data items that are involved in this scenario. The bank account number, your contact number, then the balance in your bank account, and also the PIN number of your bank account. From these 4 data values, the first one, the account number, can be considered as a public data, which means it is accessible for anyone. According to our story, it will be available to access from the bank account, user, online bank account, and the shopkeeper classes. Therefore, we can utilize the public keyword as the access modifier. Since we decided in our design to keep the bank account class and the user class inside the same package, we can utilize the default access modifier. In this case, we are not going to write anything as the access modifier. Bank account balance is a bit of a restrictive data. But on the other hand, the bank account and the online bank account class, these two classes having a relationship. In this case, the parent-child. Therefore, I can utilize to make the data available only to bank account, online bank account, plus the user using the protected access modifier. We know PIN number in your bank account is confidential data. You will not share it with anyone, even with the bank. Therefore, I'm going to represent that scenario, creating the PIN number only available to user class. In this case, I can utilize the access modifier of private, which will only allow to access that variable or method inside that user class only. So first I'm going to create 3 different packages in my story. The first one is on bank. And then I will also create another package for shop, for the shopkeeper. And bank will provide a service. So I will denote it with a service package. So now I have 3 different packages under my source directory. Inside the bank package, according to our representation, we are going to create two classes, the bank account and the user class. Inside the bank account class, I'm going to create three variables that are namely the account number of your bank account, the full name, and also the balance. I'm going to add three more methods inside this bank account class to print or display the values of these variables into the terminal. This is the content I have wrote inside the bank account class. You can see we created three variables, and to show those three variables into the terminal, I created three different methods. I'm going to create the user class, which is also inside the bank package. To run the demonstration from the user class perspective, I'm going to write a main method inside the user class. Let's create an object out of bank account to represent your bank account. Let's see what are the variables and methods that are available inside the user class to access and modify the values. You can see all of these three variables are available, and also all the methods we wrote inside the bank account class is also available from the user class. In this case, that means I can also modify the values inside those variables. For example, if I try to print the balance or check the balance now, I will get the value that I decided to have. This is basically like hacking your bank account. If you run this, you will see the output, the value as whatever the value that you modified. The bank is not doing a good job, which means the bank is not protecting the balance in your bank account. So let's go ahead and fix that inside the bank account class. Once we made these three variables private, it is only allowed to view or access and modify only within the bank account class. Now, if we switch back to the user class, you can see this will not compile and give you an error because we are trying to access a private variable inside the bank account. This is not allowed. So we have successfully secured the bank balance from the bank account class. Let's remove this line because this will not compile. Now let's rerun the program and observe the output, which is correct, that the correct balance is being displayed. Now let's go ahead and create our online bank account under the service package that we created. According to our design, online bank account is another variation of your bank account class. Therefore, I'm going to extend this class from the original bank account class. Let's try to create another main method inside this online bank account class and see what are the access levels that we are allowed to have. I'm going to check the balance using the online bank account object that I created. Check balance method inside the bank account class we inherited from our parent class. However, it is not visible inside the subclass of online bank account class because inside the bank account class, we did not use the correct access modifier for the check balance method. Let's navigate to the check balance method inside the bank account class and fix the access problem of this method. You can see the check balance method, we did not specify any access modifiers. And we are trying to access it from the subclass of this bank account class. But the subclass is in a different package. But we can utilize the protected access modifier to make it visible to our children classes. Now you can see the error has disappeared from the online bank account class. Let's try to run this and observe the output. you can see the correct balance is being printed into the terminal or the console. Now let's create the last class in this scenario, the shopkeeper, under the shop package. Let's create a main method also inside the shopkeeper class. First, let's create a bank account object and observe what are the methods and variables accessible from the shopkeeper class. Shopkeeper class is a totally isolated class. Therefore, we are not allowed to access any of the methods defined in the bank account class and online bank account class. However, according to our story, the shopkeeper must able to access the bank account number to make the transfer. Let's go ahead into our bank account and make the correct modification. In this case, the show account number method must be available for anyone. We can utilize the public access modifier to decorate this method. If we check what are the available methods inside the shopkeeper class now after the modification, you can see the show account number is available to access. Let's try to run this main method. You can see the account number is available to access inside the shopkeeper. Let's navigate back to the user class and try to access all the available attributes from this class. In this class, actually, we can access the bank account.show account number, and also we are allowed to access the full name in this case because we are in the same package. You can see the show full name method we did not decorate with any access modifiers. That belongs to the default access level. The default access level allows any method or variable to access within the same package. In this case, you can see the left hand side, the bank account and the user is under the bank package. Therefore, the user class is able to access the show full name method. The check balance method is also available for the user class because the bank account and the user class are in the same package. We also need to do one last modification in the user class. If you scroll up, you can see the PIN number variable. We did not specify any access modifier. That means it belongs to the default access modifier. Default access modifier allows any other class in the same package to access those variables and methods. In this case, PIN number is a confidential data. We cannot share it even with the bank. Therefore, let's decorate it with private access modifier. Alright, my dear students, since we came to the end of this video, I want to summarize what we have learned together. This video, we started using an IDE or Integrated Development Environment. And also, you understood what are 4 different access modifiers in Java. I also taught you about how to represent textual data in Java using the Java string class. And also explained there is a difference between using the string object and string literal. With that knowledge, I invite you to join with me with my next video where we are going to learn about abstract classes and interfaces.